I got the Mark 6 now. So this is kind of stuffy. All right. How's everybody doing? My name is Quamon Fowler. Thank you if you're new to the channel. This is my Monday night stream. And let me switch my mic here, give me a little bit better amplification. But this is my Monday stream where I usually will just go over, well, sometimes I'll do a live, what I call in the lab session. The in the lab session is when I'm actually tracking. So I'll lay down a track that I'm working on, lay sax down or outline the track depending on what I'm doing that particular week, how I'm inspired. And then sometimes I will actually do a shedding and sharing session where I'll just kind of practice and play through some things and also share kind of updates about what I'm doing, what's going on. So actually this week I'm going to be talking about releasing music because that's what I've done. I decided yesterday to go ahead and go live with my Free Will song. So Free Will is actually a song that a friend of mine wrote. He came to me a few years back and was like, "Here, Quamon, let's see if we can do something with this." And so he wrote the song. He had the melody. He had like a sample of the beat. You know, he had just put together a beat and kind of sent it over to me. And so I heard it, and I ended up getting a friend of mine together, and we made a demo version for the song. And so after that, we actually, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have my man Jermaine Morgan to see what he can do with it. So I sent what we had over to Jermaine, and so what Jermaine did, he completely flipped it. I mean, he made it just ridiculous. So it went from three stages. The first stage from when my friend Wendell gave me the track, he gave it to me, and he's like 10 years older than me, and he came up, on commissioned, and his era of time, I would say, was the 90s, the prime time songwriters, Dawkins, and a lot of gospel, R&B type feel, 90s vibe. And so me, my experience is wide, being a musician, being deep into jazz, coming up playing in church, but also being around the funk, the groove, the fusion, and straight ahead, and all of the different musical cultures I've been around. We made it kind of a updated groove. We updated the groove, but then I was like, you know what, this could even go even a step higher. And so that's when I sent it to Jermaine, who's a phenomenal producer. He's a great bass player. He has his own channel out of Georgia area, but he does a great job with his production. And so I sent it to Jermaine, and he hooked it up and completely flipped it. I was like, wow. So he's very insightful when it comes to bringing your ideas to life. So make a long story short, I ended up recording vocoder. Basically my eWii, I connected up to my Digitech talker down here on the floor. Let me see if I can get it. Where is it? It's down here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Let's see if I can get it. So I connect my eWii up to my Digitech talker and put my put the microphone in it, and I can actually control the sound with the EWI and get that vocoder effect. And so with that vocoder effect, it makes it really sound cool. I might pull up a little bit of it and share some here live with you if I can. But let's see here. Let me pull it up. Let me put it up. Free will. And so, but yeah, I sang the vocoder and I laid down my, the other parts to it. Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up, and then I'll switch screens so y'all can actually see the session. So I'm kind of going over free will, talking through the process. Man, we've been working on it for at least 3 years, and it sat for a while, and that happens sometimes. Sometimes, it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of it being the right time to release something, and even being inspired to release something. But this was just the time, as I kept messing around with, listening to it and messing around with the mix on it. I finally was like, you know what? Let me go and finish this, complete it. And my friend, so actually, let me finish telling you the story. So when Jermaine sent it back to me, I was like, man, this is killing. So he laid down guitar, he laid down the bass, he laid down keys. And it's funny because the track that I sent him was laced in the track. I think, let me see if I can find that session. I kind of thought about it on the spur of the moment. What up, Greg? Society Consultants, what's happening? I say society. Safety. What's going on? This is on YouTube. So if you're wanting to send me a message, if I missed you on Facebook, I can see the messages as they pop up on YouTube, but I can see some of them. I might catch them here on Facebook. What's going on? I see you there. What's going on, Ernest? What's happening, Will? There on Facebook. So I'm talking about my new release, Free Will, and was trying to see if I could pull up the track. Let's see here. My UAD. Okay. All right, it's pulling it up. It's just loading. So what happened? You know what? I'm gonna see if I can. Y'all really need to see that. Y'all really need to see this. So let me see if I can find this other version, and then y'all will hear the transitions. The evolution, if you would. So let me see if I can do that. I think I would have to pipe my sound to come through here. I definitely got a bunch of versions of Free Will. Yeah, I don't want to waste a lot of time trying to search for it, y'all. But I got my old session here, Free Will, and let me see if I can pull up, open this folder and see if I can play it, see if y'all can hear it come through here. Okay? All right, the old version, Free Will old. Maybe this is the one. I think this is the one. I got it labeled old. So let's see if that works. And then y'all will hear the difference. So I put it up on, actually, you can get the full track by making a donation of any amount to support the efforts here at Texas Tenor Music. And I actually got two more singles that are ready to go. But the way I'm going to release them is into my community, my Q Streams community. So if you have the Quamon Fowler app, if you are subscribed to either the Texas Tenor Academy, or if you're subscribed to Q Streams, which is a part of Texas Tenor Academy, you'll get all of my releases inside of there. So they're already there for you. Here it is. This is perfect, y'all. This is the old version. All right, so let me see. I'm gonna make sure my audio is coming through here, and make sure y'all can hear it. So let me check. Let me make sure this is working here. So I'm gonna play it. Okay, so did y'all hear that good? Maybe if I just put this on, I'll make it to where y'all can just hear it come from the speakers. So did y'all hear that? Could y'all hear that good? Anybody? That was the old version that he sent. And so we ended up, I ended up adding bass to it. And my friend Garrick Pitts, who was a student at the time, we were working, and he ended up putting together keys and helping me put keys to it. So I'm gonna switch to Logic, so y'all should be able to see my screen here, my Logic screen. All right, so let me see. Yeah, it's having system overload. It had issues before. Woo, loud. Let me turn that down some. Y'all can hear the old version. See, really 90s R&B style, right? So let me look at the chat, see, so I can see if I have some messages come through. I don't want to miss. All right, there we go. I can see you there. He says loud and clear. Excellent. Appreciate you, Benji. All right. Yes. So y'all can hear. Good. Thank you so much for the feedback. All right. So this was the original version. This was like phase 2. No, this is what Wendell sent. And I played bass. Make a choice. Follow Christ. Don't take a chance with your life. Go ahead, do the deal. You have authority to change your destiny. Free will. Don't make another free will. Da, 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 da. Free will. Da, 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 da. You have authority to change your destiny. Da, da, da. Da, da, da. Ba, da, 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 da. Dun, da, 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 da. Dun, da, 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 da. So that's the groove pretty much. I think I might have changed in another section. I think he had a rap to go right here. That's me on the Iwi bass. And I changed to like the relative major. The cool thing about this solo right here, so this solo was like a one take deal, and man, it turned out to be really killing. Um, and so we kept it. I kept it, and Jermaine just built around it. So check this out. And we switched this up. Okay, so that's the original. Well, I would say, yeah, that's like basically phase two when we got it from Wendell, and I put that down. Like I said, I ended up sending this to Jermaine, and then I'm gonna show you what Jermaine did to it. All right, I'm gonna show you what Jermaine did to it before. Well, yeah, after we sent it to him. So let me switch. All right, so I was on the session where I solo. Y'all remember the Iwi solo at the end? That thing really sounds good with his version. And I found this patch that I blended in. I think I like the ambient lead, and I mix it with the punchy harmonics like a guitar distortion sound. And I blended the two together to get that guitar sound like that. What up, Harps? My man Harps. How you doing? But yeah, I blended those sounds together for that solo, and that's how it came out. So yeah, I'm just giving highlights of the through the process, the journey of getting this song "Free Will" done. And let me tell you, for all of my musicians, let me encourage you and give you all some perspective. If you are one that wants to release music and you want to do this process, it is a process, and it is can be a challenge because you're thinking about most of the time you have to pay for the time that you would have someone to put in for you to record. You got to pay for mixing. If you can't mix yourself, you got to pay for mastering if you can't mix yourself, or you got to pay for the software to be, to purchase to actually mix and master and stuff yourself. So it's and then you think about streaming, where you don't get paid too much on streaming. So it is definitely different, but it's like it's changing because social media and just the way that we're used to, people are accustomed to consuming digital content all by way of our phones. Um, it's hard even to sell downloads because people are not set up to where once they get an MP3 file or a WAV file, they're not set up now to put it into a playlist or put it into an actual music app where it could be a part of their playlist or the other music that they have. So it's more so the reason why it inspired me to go ahead and do my own app, have my own app, and have my own membership platform so I can put everything inside my membership platform, and that would help. So if you don't want to wait, or if you're just used to having everything in one place, then you would want to go ahead and be a part of Q Streams or join the Texas Tenor Academy where you get the lessons and the instructions and the music. So I've toyed around with different options. I've pressed up CDs and have sold CDs before I actually release it on digital platforms. I made sure that I do CD release parties so that I'll have time to promote it and get some mileage out of it before people can just access it, through the digital platform. So the whole journey is a process and you learn from it. Regardless of people not having CD players at the house anymore, every time I do a live event, and I got my CD, somebody will always want to purchase a CD. And it's kind of like a souvenir, or it's a way that people just can support the artist because it is a hard, like trying to shoot a moving target because things keep changing. And then we're in an age now where we have to be content creators. We have to be consistent with creating content just to stay on the minds of you because it's so many distractions. I mean, people are getting so many posts or notifications a day coming from TikTok, coming from Instagram, coming from YouTube, Facebook. Then you got your job, you got your family and just your emails. So it's so many different things that are competing for attention. And so when you're in business, the thing about getting in front of those people, getting eyeballs on your stuff or ears on your stuff, you got to continually be putting out stuff. And that's what I'm seeing even from here, me lately. I've been trying to be more consistent with sharing on Instagram and even doing YouTube shorts and stuff like that. And I'm picking up more momentum. And it's a guy, marketer, entrepreneur guy. I actually got his course, Grant Cardone. He was talking about how money follows attention, and that's true. And so we're competing for attention, and the more that I can share my music, share what I do with you, it gets your attention, and then it touches you, and so you want to make sure you support that. And because I mean, especially if you're a musician too, if you see how I'm doing things, and over time I've been putting out content and trying to share and help people. From your support, it it definitely helps and encourages me to keep going. And those are the metrics and the data that I use, the feedback that I get from you all, the comments, the likes, the views that you give on Facebook or even YouTube and Instagram. All of that stuff kind of helps. But of course, when you click on something and you buy, that also helps too. That encourages me. But it's always a thing. It's a numbers game. So it's like in order for me to hit a certain number or amount monetarily, that would mean I would have to increase my my content or awareness uh, or times more potential times for you to become aware of a product or service that I offer. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's why it's important to continually be posting content. But it's all driven for me. It comes from a place of wanting to be an inspiration, wanting to teach and encourage. So it's not just a thing that I'm doing just for money anyway, because I'm ministry focused anyway. So my music comes from a place of ministry. It comes from a place of you know, inspiration and really touching the heart of people and really trying to be a light and share my heart and soul to encourage others and kind of help you make it through your day, make it through your situations, whatever you're dealing with, give a hope and shine the light of Christ. Like that's at the core of my heart. And so in the midst of doing that, you know, I inspire and touch people out there who want to give back and who want to support what I'm doing, because there's not a lot of people that's doing what I'm doing the way I'm doing it. You know what I'm saying? And so educators, especially Christian educators or Christian musicians, have it pretty tough, because we're trying to uphold a certain standard in the midst of a lot of low standards, or you know, morally, or and it can be quality too, like the music or the depth might be shallow, and we're just bombarded with so much uh, stuff that's not good to where it's popular and makes money. So sometimes um, we just can't get the attention that we need to really make it work financially. So you end up having to do other things in order to support uh, the things that you really love to do. And so that's one of the challenges. You always, you know, you have a standard and a quality of that you have in your head, your heart, your soul, your spirit, and the world around you is not um, celebrating that. But at the same time, when it's heard, it's appreciated, and the truth is the truth. Like it's undeniable, is there. The heart and soul, spirit of the music, like you can tell the real from the stuff that's fake. Um, one of the things I just thought about, it's a quote that I remember seeing, like lies have speed, but truth has endurance. And so I would rather be a part of the endurance, the truth side, to where I can put out good quality music that has a positive message, a strong message, and it might not get in front of everybody like a song that has a derogatory message, or something that has profanity, or something that's explicit, or you know, promoting, you know, sex, drugs, rock and roll, promoting things that really aren't good for the human condition. You know, it might not get out there as quick, you know, as the rest, but I have a pocket of people who want what I have to offer, and so I'm cool with appealing to those people who want what I have. I'm not competing, even though I am in a way competing with um, for attention. I am competing for attention, but at the same time, I'm trying to do it in a natural, organic way. Um, and my process is my process. Not saying everybody got who wants to do music. Even if you're Christian, not saying that you have to do it the way I'm doing it. A lot of this stuff you experiment, and it's really true of playing music like your own voice. It's like our science is in a laboratory. You try different things. You got different tools. You got different theories, and you have these hypotheses before you do an experiment. Then you do the actual experiment, and then you discover something totally different. Or you might find a little sweet spot where you can take a portion of what you were working on and tweak it and make turn it into something totally different. You know, and it's kind of like with content, you know, sharing content. You never know what is going to be the thing that's going to really connect with people, what's going to be viral, or if you would. But you just keep on publishing, you keep on trying things, and then people over time will have even gone through the journey with you and appreciate the process. And then through the whole process in its entirety, people connect with you because we're not perfect. Like, we're not perfect. But one thing about me, I'm not afraid to where I don't publish. I don't put stuff out there. And I think a lot of times musicians are people who are wanting to go forth with an idea or a business or a hobby, or they want to start, publishing or putting stuff out there. They have the analysis paralysis, where like you're so critical of yourself to where you never put something out. Whereas, man, I was putting stuff out when I was 12, 13, 14. I was recording video, recording audio, and I started selling tapes when I was like 14, 15, and I was just playing over Jamie Abersol play-alongs, playing standards, and releasing it and selling it. So, and of course, you get better and better, but I wasn't afraid of sounding bad because that gives you feedback. And like I said, you're not perfect. So I can listen back to earlier albums, earlier projects, and just be like, ugh. But at the same time, that's the best that I had at the time. But it didn't stop me from continuing to create. Even YouTube videos, streams that I've done, some are bad, some, but at the same time, I kept publishing, I kept getting better and better to the point where you find yourself, you find your own voice, as you're reaching. Because the thing that people like about what you do is what you stand for, is what you represent, even though you might not all the way be there. It's what you believe, your message, and it's like on the horn, right? I have a voice, I have a tone. Most of the time, people will compliment me on my sound, right? And that's a lot in itself because a sound encompasses your experience. Your experience. I mean, your sound is a voice. It's a voice, and people it carries. It's a lot. It's a deep thing because your spirit, your soul, everything is in your sound. So I'm just kind of just playing whatever, right? But my sound carries a lot. It carries a lot, and you can hear a lot of influences just from my sound, and that is what comes across even with our voice, and our conversations we have. You can feel the spirit of a person. You get the spirit, the soul, their belief, their standards, their taste. You get all of that just from a person's voice. You know what I'm saying? You can get energy or feel a certain connection, especially when you're in person. It's being on a computer, talking through a screen or through a phone. You can't pick up what you would pick up when you're in person with that person in real life. Which players are you influenced influenced you coming up? So the players that influenced me was first people like Sonny Rollins, Joshua Redmond, um, Johnny Griffin, of course John Coltrane, Dexter Gordon, Stanley Turrentine, Ornette Cobb, um, what I say, Joshua Redmond, James Carter, Kenny Garrett, Branford Marsalis. All of these artists I listened to, and I learned their stuff. I mean, I was really learning their stuff, so it rubbed off. It rubbed off on me. And like I was saying before, in the midst of you learning other people's styles and inflections and the way that they do things, it becomes a part of you. I can't play like, you know, I would say I won't say I would say this. I can't do what Joshua Redmond does. I can't do exactly what James Carter, does. I can't do exactly what Stanley Turrentine, did. But at the same time, from me learning their stuff, that's where you find Quamon. And my angle in terms of how I was raised and the music that I heard in my environment, in my culture, at church, at school, hanging out with friends, playing in clubs, listening to jazz, going to jam sessions, all that kind of stuff. That is all the ingredients, a part of the ingredients that's at the core of my experience and my voice. And so the beautiful thing about music is it's unique. Everybody's voice is unique, and we connect with people, and we can hear influences or hear certain things that really connect with or speak to our heart because it's familiar. It's something familiar. Because I mean, music is a universal language, but there's a lot of different dialects and styles and culture uh, that's mixed in, you know. And so being a Christian and understanding worship, um, like music at the core of its origin comes from a place of worship and paying homage or reverence to God. And even on the flip side, it started there, but it just became more, instead of vertical, it became like horizontal, like just for man, to please man, or to express the struggles and to appear to more to self, or you know carnal disease, carnal desires and needs, and especially when you see an opportunity for um, to make money, the motive, the motive changed, historically, and it's more so about appealing to a certain format for the purpose of programming or sales or driving sales. Then it gets more scientific when you get psychoanalysts involved and they start paying attention to certain tempos and certain chords and certain frequencies that you need to have in a song to make people hypnotized or to get them to get into a trance. I mean, so music can go pretty deep, especially when it comes to programming and making money. The pop format, in terms of the subject matter, like I said, in terms of the BPM, in terms of the chords. The more you simplify stuff, then you're able to reach a greater mass majority or great amount of people, because whenever you're dealing with classical music and jazz, it makes it stimulates thought. It makes the brain, it engages the brain in a lot of different ways, which will make you smarter. Whereas you can have music that is more simplified, and it's simplified enough for them to program you the way that they want to program you. Whereas it's hard when you're listening to classical music, because it keeps changing, especially jazz. Jazz will keep your mind occupied. And that's why a lot of times people can't get into classical music, or people can't get into jazz, because they don't understand it. And it's just because they've been programmed, you know, for a certain format of music, where they hear the melody, they hear a few chords, but it's usually a repetitive thing. And so when you have a repetitive thing, then it can be stamped. It can make a mind stamp on, in your head, to where it's more so for branding, and um, for a person, being, or artist being stamped in that person's mind, or a message to be stamped into that person's mind, so that later they can get them to act up on something else, to sell merchandise, or to sell a brand, or to sell a certain message. So it can get really uh, scientific, and more, I get what, conspiracy, and that's, it's true. It is a conspiracy. They're conspiring against us. They're using music as a way of control and all of that. But anyway, I said all that to say, I'm on, because I'm aware of a lot of that. But even before being aware of a lot of that, my intentions for music have always been to glorify God, and to be a blessing to the people, because the people uh, need the truth. People need the right spirit. People need to be free. I want people to be free, you know, instead of being in bondage, you know. And it's a trip. I'm kind of getting deep into this. It's so much, so many layers to this, and so many areas to to really address. But um, I was just saying, my intentions with music were in the beginning, was like, I just wanted to play what I was hearing. I was inspired by the jazz music. Oh, I forgot to mention Cannonball Adderley. I mean, that music that they was creating back, in the 50s and 60s, was just beautiful. I mean, and the level that they were executing and creating music, creating songs, and improvising, like the jazz archives, is just beautiful stuff. And so it was one of those things where black people were celebrated and respected, even for their ability, and what they contributed, to America and the world, that influenced the whole world. That's the thing about it. And I wrote a paper, like, back in college, and I was talking about um, pretty much how God used simple things to confound the wise, where you had the people who were in control and trying to um, lay out a business plan for uh, different people groups and the whole world, and how they were going to colonize all these different places and create this world in their own image. But then you had these people that were the oppressed, and the slaves, or the people who were going through the struggle. They were singing from a place of sincerity, of struggle, their spiritual um, um, experiences, and the blues, and what they were singing out there from working. It's like that right there was what confounded the wise. It was something where they couldn't keep the people down, because the ability and the beauty that came from the struggle, that came out of the struggle was that music, and that was the way that it really helped, you know, Africans, African Americans really to flourish. And I talked about that. I wrote a paper about it. But that was the phenomenal thing. And then, so it was so influential, especially with a lot of the blues artists and soul artists. They influenced other um, white musicians, but they would go to the church, or they would go and try to hang out where the black folk were, so that they could soak up that organic, raw, soulful experience, because that was something that they wasn't exposed to. They came from a place of privilege. And so a lot of times in those environments where everything is laid out for you, there's no struggle, there's nothing that would push you and drive you to write a song and cry your heart out, or play your heart out, or, you know what I'm saying, certain conditions that would warrant a person to create and respond in a way where their heart and soul goes into that piece. And so it's just one of those things, where, I mean, the truth, it is what it is. All right, bro. All right, Harps, we'll see you later. No problem. He says deep stuff here. He said love preach. Okay, great. But yeah, it's deep. It is deep. It is deep. But that's what I'm saying. I was always connected with the truth. And I had a teacher, Miss Rochella Parks, when I came up as a teenager, she was saying, you play the truth. Like, when you play, it's like you're a preacher. And you can't deny it. Whenever you hear a message that touches your soul, regardless of your agenda and regardless of, you know, what rebellion you're in, when you hear the truth, it cuts. It cuts through all of your mess. Even if you don't want to deal with it. When you hear the truth, like I said, lies have speed, but truth has endurance. So you can go hear somebody play and you can go hear somebody speak, but whenever you hear the truth, you know, whether it's musically or whether it's a message, it sticks to you. And what'll happen, because the thing about it, the spirit of God is captured with that. You know, sometimes you could go through an experience where you really felt the presence of God. God spoke in that moment. Years can go by and you might have forgot the message or whatever, but you remember that feeling. And so that's the truth. And I believe that, you know, that's what we should be about. And our aim when we create music, should come from that place. I think we've gotten confused, and we've gotten distracted by the all of let's see all of the I don't even know. I'm trying to find the word. Let me just try to break it down like this. Like, technology is a good thing, but on one hand, it can get in the way of an organic, natural process. You know, God created us in His own image and likeness, so we're creators. We're creators. You know, we create to reflect Him. But then man can create technology that takes away the need for a human to create. So it's almost like algorithms, right? And computers, we got the idea to create a computer because of how our brain is. You know, the mind and the brain is. We can think something, Google search something, and boom, we got a whole list of articles and websites and videos to choose to go deeper into that particular topic. And then algorithms. Now they've created a math. They put math together and probability together to where they're taking all of the data that we fed the machine, and then they're in turn giving it back to us and suggesting to us what we need before we even all the way type it. So it's almost like they've collected all of our human experiences and data. We've put it out there, what we like, what we don't like, what we believe, what we don't believe, and now they're suggesting uh, what we want and how we should think. And so now it's like it has taken away from us going through the natural experience of searching. Like, let me give you an example. When I came up, think about it. The internet hit in '95. I had a computer. My mom had an Apple computer. She was a teacher. So we had computers like when I was in '95. I was 15 years old, 14, 15 years old. YouTube came out, 2006. MySpace came out a little before then. But I didn't start doing the YouTube and Facebook lives and getting really heavy into that until I was in my already mid to late 20s. But by then, I put in so many hours without YouTube or without Googling and without even software to help me slow down music that I would transcribe. A lot of that I would use the CD player to rewind it or the tape player to go back, forth and rewind it. And so it was a lot of things I did naturally without the use so much heavily or even the distractions of technology. I think the younger kids now or the younger generations, from the turn of the, going into the new millennium, it's so much technology to where it has hindered them from really having that depth or getting into being a lot more in depth. And even the generations before me, when I talk about Joshua Redmond, and even before Joshua, with all of the greats, Cannonball Adderley, John Coltrane, Johnny Griffin, all of those guys. The thing about their development, they had each other. Like, they were the libraries. They studied. They spent long hours practicing together, hanging out, playing each other tunes. They had to handwrite out everything. They didn't have no Sibelius or Finale. So it's a lot to be said about how they had to depend on their natural God-given brains and minds, and they used each other to inspire each other to write, and that competitiveness too was there. So the music and everything that they came up with, like from back in the day, is just so phenomenal. Whereas today, it's just like it's not as many cats who have that unique voice like that, like they did back in the day. And I'm giving you my perspective, my vantage point, my philosophy, and so. But here, let me tell you this. Let me give you this. So now we got the world is big, but it's small. But it's small in the sense because now it's so easy to get access to whatever you think about. Any idea that you have, if you search and you look at the right videos and get the right community of people, you can find just about anything you want. And so if there's a will, there's a way. So if you want to be a musician and you want to, write or create and connect with an audience, you can do it. It's not about talent. It's just about connections. If people, that's the thing about even today with a lot of popular artists. A lot of popular artists, are millionaires, or can go and fill up stadiums and stuff like that. And it's not really about their talent. It's more so about the marketing and the attention that they get. And so it's a formula. And I remember I was talking. I actually watched a documentary about Kenny G. Where was it at? On Hulu or something? But it was talking about his story and how when he came up, they were trying to get him to sound like. Well, he liked Grover Washington Jr. a lot, and so um, what's my man name? Shoot him till you run now. Shotgun. I'm going to blank. But they wanted him to play in that R&B, rhythm and blues, soul type manner, and so but that just wasn't his thing. He was a Jewish young kid, white, grew up in a white neighborhood, didn't come from the ghetto. Like what I was talking about, no struggles like that. But at the same time, the music that was popular was soul music, coming out of the '70s, in the '80s. So they were trying to make him into something that he wasn't. And so he was at the house making stuff like Songbird, making his songs the way he liked, the way he heard it. And so he ended up playing one of his songs on the Johnny Carson show instead of playing his single that was like a rhythm and blues, R&B, at the time I would say soul music type funk thing. He didn't play it, and he played Songbird. And then once he played that, everybody was like, man, it changed. It changed the whole perspective. And so that was kind of the start of his sound and smooth jazz. And then they started a whole uh, genre called smooth jazz based on Kenny G's format. And so, but then, I mean, even in that experience, that song and the style, the way he played and the way he heard stuff and the way he wrote stuff, that came from a sincere place. It became a sound that was his, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just so happens that it was just so simple and in a format that didn't come from the tradition that jazz had came from, or the evolution. Like when you hear a Grover Washington Jr. and a lot of the artists, even Miles Davis in the 60s and 70s, um, Lee Morgan, Freddie Hubbard, Stanley Turrentine, um, Kenny Durham, a lot of the guys started transitioning and playing more um, groove fusion type stuff, in the 70s because the music was just evolving, especially how much soul music had gotten popular in the 60s, Motown and Muscle Schultz and all of the artists that come out of that, Otis Redding, Aretha Franklin and staple singers Marvin Gaye, Donny Hathaway, and all of that music that had affected the world. It influenced the jazz musicians. A lot of the funk brothers, a lot of those bands that played for the soul artists could all play straight ahead. And so everybody started kind of just changing to another format. But what I'm saying is you could still hear the history. You could hear the history because they could do it. Like Maceo Parker, for instance, when I was on a gig in Germany, he would warm up playing dee da, the way you look tonight. He would be swinging and hitting hard. But when he do his show, it's like one, two, a 1, 2, 3, 4, straight full on the flow. I mean, it was funk, and he'd just be killing it. But like what I said, in his sound, you could hear the history. But the thing about Kenny G, when he was posterized as being the jazz instrumentalist and the guy, plus he's a white, privileged, uh, saxophonist, instrumentalist, he's plastered in front of everybody as the cat. It was kind of disrespectful, and it appeared to be disrespectful to the jazz community and the people who have been struggling. And it happens really all the time. I mean, that's a whole nother subject, because the same thing happened with uh, with Pat Boone and Elvis Presley, when they would take songs from the black community, the Beatles. They would take songs from the black artists, and then they would reproduce them, and then they would become popular. And it's like, oh man, this is rock and roll, or this is soul music, or this is jazz. I mean, the history keeps repeating itself. But like I said, truth is the truth. You know what the real stuff is when you hear it. But it's when certain people who aren't used to those experiences from a real potent black experience, if they didn't come up like that, you can take a little bit of that and then present it to your community, and it's like becomes like a whole different thing when you present it to them, and they can feel elements of the truth in it. But anyway, so my point was, I was saying all of that to say is, when it comes to business, that's a different thing. And opportunity, um, I mean, opportunity, when you talk about terms, genres, labels, especially record companies, their sole purpose is to generate sales. So when it comes to a certain moral stance, or a certain standard of tradition and all of that, like all of that doesn't matter. Like the bottom line is to make sales. And so I remember when I watched a documentary about, um, uh, I'm going blank. What's the lady? Mahalia Jackson, with Legacy playing Mahalia. It was a part in the documentary. It was a reenactment, so it wasn't a documentary. But she had ended up getting signed to a gospel record label, and you know, eventually they was like, we got to drop you, because don't nobody want to hear gospel. They don't want to hear uh, about Jesus, And so she got dropped, but she kept on singing her gospel, because that was her thing. That was her voice. And she definitely influenced in a lot of people. It was that powerful scene in that they show in the movie, and they also did it in the movie with Martin Luther King, where he would call her and she would sing to him, just to encourage him to finish his mission, and to get through um, what he was going through, just from her singing. So that's the thing. So music and your call and your voice, it has its place. But I think sometimes when you get into the business of music, the motive can change. And a lot of times people, you can even hear it with artists too, where they might have started out in a genuine, organic, authentic place, but the business ended up changing them. And then, because business will present opportunity, and so when you see an opportunity, you change, you go for it, because the priority then becomes, or you're faced with a dilemma. It's like, should I stick to what's organic or natural or pure or the truth, or should I go after something that can make me more money, and being I can compromise the truth, or I can compromise being authentic, and I can do this and make some more money, because on this other side is way more opportunity, and sadly, that's just how it is. It's like, if I neglected my what I'm building, or I was just if I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna do what I'm doing anymore. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make some money. I could easily, take the calls when people call me asking to do certain things. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do that. I don't care what message the song is about. I'm gonna play because I'm more so wanting to make me some money. I'm more so wanting to get my name or get my voice out there. I'm just gonna do it. I could do that, but in doing that, it would take away from my thing, like what I'm building. And so everybody's always faced with that. I mean, you're gonna have to make a choice, and it's a lot easier for you to compromise. It's a lot easier, especially when people throw money on the table. You can play and support people with certain messages that just go against all of what you believe. But if the right dollar amount is placed, people do it because they don't care. It's just more so about um, them and what they want in that temporary time. But what ends up happening, um, like even if it's not even on a moral tip, I'm talking about like even your branding. Like once you put yourself out there, um, then you get pigeonholed, or you get stamped or associated with whatever, however you put yourself out there. I mean, it's like it's just a part of you now. So I remember when I was back in college, I had a lot of hip hop artists, popular ones, and different people who would reach out to me wanting me to record with them. And back then, I was like, nah, I can't do it because I didn't want to brand myself with them because there's certain things, albums and stuff you put out there, it's out there forever. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, thankfully, had the prudence or what my convictions were, um, allowed me to avoid, doing certain things because I just didn't want to stamp um, that with who I was in the long term. And so, and a lot of that stuff you learn, gotta learn the hard way, and some stuff you just learn from others. Um, Mentorship, having a good pastor or somebody who has been there, done that, and can kind of give you some wisdom on how you should navigate the business. Because like I said, it's going to be opportunities, so many opportunities, and this is how it happens, especially for musicians who come out of the church. Like all secular artists, um, they want musicians from the church because they come they come with a organic, soulful, natural, raw thing. And so if they can get you on their team, then it just enhances their message. And the thing that is no different, it's no different from you know the devil wants the church, and he wants gospel musicians or musicians who come from the church because it validates him. It brings validation to him. So if you can get a artist from the church who play with a secular artist, then it validates the secular artist, and then it's like it's no difference. Now it makes the church and the world just look the same, like it's not really, like the Bible say, you can have a form of godliness, but it denies the power thereof. Because the thing about God, he's holy, he's righteous, and his standards are high. Um, Not saying from the standpoint of a human, like I mentioned earlier, we're not perfect, but when your heart is yielded to him, you respect um, God's holiness, His order. You want to be a part of His family. You want to stay a part of His family. then you'll have convictions that would lead you a certain way to where you wouldn't do certain things. You because you want to represent him, and I like that. Um, that was depicted of Mahalia Jackson, or what we understood her stance to be. She didn't do secular stuff. I think Duke Ellington had to cook for her, or she cooked for him, something like that, for her to record with him. But it's always a thing, and and then I remember the instance that we talked about. We talked about it in our Bible study we used to do years back, in Matthew chapter 4, when Jesus was tempted by Satan. And that last temptation, he said, if you bow down and worship me, I'll give you all the kingdoms of this world. And Jesus said, get behind me, Satan. Thou shalt worship, have no other gods before him. Thou shalt worship God and him only. And so, of course, that's Jesus. But so many opportunities are presented to you as a musician, to where you can easily accept that offer and get the fame, get the fortune. But more times than not, the same thing that um, you know, you want to receive, the fame and fortune, is what destroys people, because we end up being lifted up as gods, and that's what's destructive. That pride, and it always, like they say, pride, you know, uh, brings destruction, because that's what got Lucifer kicked out of heaven, is being lifted up in himself. God is the creator. You always gotta um, give him his credit. You always gotta bring glory back to God, because when you start trying to be lifted up in yourself, then there's no examples of where that of that ending well. You know, we just can't do it, and especially we're not designed to be worshipped. Like, we don't have the capacity to receive worship like that. It always destroys people when they lift themselves up. Cult leaders, self-destruct, and a lot of artists are, end up being cult leaders, and they get intoxicated on the praise of men, and it destroys them. And Lucifer knows that. Satan knows that, but he gives them the instant gratification. He gives them the pleasures of the women, the money, the traveling, the applause, and so you can get sucked up in it and really feeling yourself. And so he'll build you up. He'll use you to push his message, influence a whole bunch of people, get you to the top, and then he'll pull the rug right out from under you. Then a lot of times people be at the point of they're on drugs, or they're alcohol, alcoholics, or they're just suicidal, what I'm saying? And they end up destroying themselves, because it was not designed for them to function like that in that music business machine. We're human beings, not human doings. But when you get put into a machine, that's the whole drive, is to make money and to use your ability to drive sales as a commodity. Like, you're not being used or looked upon as human. So you just expect it to function as a machine. And they got people who will submit themselves, plenty of them, that will submit themselves to that beast, and it'll destroy them. But in terms of the money and opportunity, I mean, it's there, but it can do it at the expense of your soul. And so you just have to make a decision on what you're going to stand for and what you're going to be against, and find your sweet spot of your voice and how you want to do music. And like I do, I create multiple streams of income so that I'm not totally dependent upon one stream coming through music, especially with my beliefs in terms of to avoid all the stuff I was mentioning. All right, Harbs, what you say? He says, "You're right, man. It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder now to focus." He said, "There's so much distractions, and it's easy to compare yourself to other musicians on social media who are more successful." Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's easy for us to show our highlight reel. You know, the highlight reel. That's what we do. We show the good spots. I edit videos, so I show the good spots. Are the good parts of the song. I mean, some parts aren't good. I make mistakes. I miss some changes. You know what I'm saying? You know, or we make it a point. Uh, we'll go through uh, the successes in terms of um, when we get a chance to travel or we hanging out with somebody, popular somebody, or playing with a popular somebody. A lot of people, musicians, are so excited to post that. But my thing is, can you actually play? Do you have a voice? Are you saying something? A lot of folks so excited to be associated with people who are hip than them actually being hip. You know what I'm saying? So the priorities is off, and that's like psychologically, it can take a toll on the younger generation or the generations that are so tied up with social media. Now, I do social media, you know what I'm saying? But it's because of my foundation and how I came up, my standards and how I practiced and what I focused on. Now I have that as a foundation. I'm just using these social media tools as tools, really, to spread my message and my style. Perception of the viewer. Yep, perception of the viewer. Al Crutcher. Yeah, I mean, I look at it because I took some time to study the brain and to study um, what's it called? It's not neuroplasticity. It was I'm thinking about it was I can't think of the name because it's been years. But I studied branding and psychoanalysis. Like a lot of psychoanalysis analyzers would take um, they would take the habits of people and study it, and they helped marketers to better market their products. It was Edward Bernays, Sigmund Freud's nephew, who ended up helping a lot of big brands um, to create commercials and to create advertisements in order to get a lot of people to jump on their agenda or to push their agenda. The United Nations and a lot of those big organizations would use analysis. But anyway, they would pay millions to these guys to help them market. And so, why did I bring that up? I brought that up because it's a lot of science that goes into marketing. And when I was studying a lot of that stuff, it really helped me just understand that, like, the experience that we're in, a lot of times it's not a natural experience. Um, and our habits are being affected by our technology, where the technology is becoming um, more human. It's like it's instead of us influencing people in an organic, natural way, the technology is influencing us and making us act and behave unnaturally. And we've because we've accepted it and it's been normalizing um, just our everyday living. Like we do everything with this right here, um, and this right here, this computer. Like I've been using it every day. I haven't had a day off. But back in the day when I didn't have a phone and when I wasn't on the computer, I would practice. I would practice, listen to records. I would read. I remember even in college, I would read a lot. Um, get books, be reading the Bible, reading other books, studying, and that was a good time. I mean, when you can actually read and sit down and not have no distractions, that's the best way for your brain to operate because our brain is really designed for us to deeply focus on stuff. That's how you create um, those deep roots. Like they say, with neuroplasticity, that's when you're learning something new. It's like your brain is actually changing shape because you're exploring and engaging in deep thought, and that's what happens when you practice too. That's like what you say when you get in the zone, you get past the hour, and then you just get into that deep place like meditation where you just in the zone. You just want to dig and dig deeper. That's the way we're designed. We're really supposed to function, but when you got social media, you got distractions and messages, notifications hitting you here and from there. Like you're always being interrupted, so you don't have the opportunity to really give your attention. And a lot of that goes into now, like relationships, with people. Like you got people who really can't can't stay married or don't have good relationships because they're so distracted. They can't really commit to one person because they're just not used to it. I mean, even people don't stay married long these days either. I've been married almost 20 years. It'll be next year, but I have friends, peers, different people who've been uh, divorced. You know, married, divorced, married. I'd get another divorce. Like that's crazy to me. Like I'm not wired that way. Um, but that once again, that has everything to do with your standards, how you were raised, and what you value as important. But I think um, definitely the technology has affected um, a lot of that. Our human conditioning. All right. It says just a quick question for you. What are you? Uh, it says, what are you thinking around chord tunes about when playing through changes? The chords, scales, melody, and closures. Okay. Your song Island Dance is such a beautiful melody, rhythm, and closures. Lots, lots of stuff. It says, I hope to transcribe it soon. Oh, good one. I'm glad you said that. I love that tune. It's fun to play. Let me see if I can play it. So we're jumping to an example here. I'm shedding and sharing. So let me make sure my volume is okay when I play the saxophone. I don't want it to be too loud. Um, y'all all right out there? We having some fun tonight. I'm sharing. I'm being authentic. All right, I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. Let me switch. All right, so this one Island Dance is on my album With You. He says, what are you thinking about? He said, what are you thinking about when you're playing through changes? Okay, I got you. That's okay. I understood. Really, let me say this. It's about melody. I remember because I asked the same question years ago when I was in high school. I asked Joshua Redmond when he came to the Caravan of Dreams in Fort Worth. I was like, "Are you thinking about changes or whatever?" Same thing. Scales. What scales? Are you thinking about scales changes? But he said it's more so about melodies. It's about melodies. Now, when you're first getting started, you have to work on your scales. You got to work on arpeggios. You got to know your changes. Those are the building blocks. But and then you can play. You can transcribe. The main thing is transcribing and learning to play the scales. So let me give you an example for my tune, Island Dance. Island Dance, it goes up diatonically. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, then 4, sharp 4, and then 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, something like that. And then we go on the bridge. So it's really like a rhythm changes. But instead of going 1, 6, 2, 5, I just go 1, 2, and then yeah, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. So when I go to that 3, it's basically 1 with the third and the bass. So what I would work on is playing those chords, outlining those chords. And so you have to play, be able to play the changes in time, so that you can get through it. Let me see. I'm gonna put my metronome on. So, boy, y'all getting it all tonight. Let me say, hey Siri, open Drum Genius. Oh, if you want to show your love, definitely go to the link in the description, QuamonFowler.com/freewill. I got the link in the description. If you would like to get the full track, you can make a donation of any amount, and it'll get emailed to you. So make sure you do that. If you want to support the channel, while I pull this up here. Okay. All right. So what I have to make sure I do is keep up. I'm just trying to keep up with playing the right stuff in the right place. And to get there first, you got to play. You got to be able to play your scales. So if I would say, so you got to go faster whenever you got two beats per change. So that's what I used to really do a lot of is play the scales through all of the changes. Then you can do the arpeggios. So in those spots where I got boom, boom, 1, 2, 1, 2, I got to move quicker. So at those times, I'm really thinking about melody. And then the bridge, dun, 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 is basically the third in the bass, but it's a major chord. So E flat major to D, E flat to D flat major, and then it's got 5 in the bass on A flat. You know, so it's like. So you have to play through the changes. Whatever song you're playing, be able to play the scales, be able to play the arpeggios. And when you transcribe, you're actually getting language from somebody else that knows how to do it, knows how to improvise. And you're putting that into your vocabulary. You're reading. It's like reading a book. When you read more books, it expands your vocabulary. I do a lot of audiobooks. So, of course, the more audiobooks I learn and courses I go through, it enhances my intelligence to be able to communicate better. And so that's kind of what happens when we transcribe. You know, so that's the value you get from transcribing. What up, Leroy? My brother. So yeah, man, I know I've been going a while, y'all. It's 8:13, and we've been hitting it. We've gone through a lot, but you know, I think these streams are getting better and better. Every Monday, I'm doing. Let me switch my audio. Switch my audio back. I might be distant now. All right, there we go. Okay. All right, test 1, 2. So yeah, so every Monday I do these streams. Yes, sir. And really, this I can't really play on this Mark 6. It's just different. It's okay, but it's a little stuffy because I'm used to playing my tenor madness. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a little stuffy. You want it? So right there, when it moves E flat, then E, you know, 1, 2, 1, 2, then you gotta think about melody. Everything that moves 2 beats a piece, you gotta work out. You know, you might need to work out what you would play in that spot. I'm talking about my song Island Dance. Anyway, ooh, that's too fast. But that's good, man. That's good stuff. Get you Drum Genius if you don't have it, and practice with it. So that'll be it for tonight, y'all. I gotta go back in the house and see what's going on with the missus. And what y'all gonna do? Y'all gonna get it? Go ahead and get the new single. Give a shout out to Miss Tony. I think she got it. Tony Scales got the new single. My man Joel Wynn got the new single. Somebody else got it. I have to go look. The people who have purchased it already. And if you're a part of my academy, remember you got it. It's in there. I posted it yesterday. So Paul, let's see who we got. Somebody got it. I got my notification. Let me see who this is. Who is this? Paul. No, Peter. Shout out to Peter Burns who got the new single. Appreciate you. Thanks for the breakdown, man. No problem. You got it. Okay, how can you get a sheet music of the arrangement? I have it. I just can email it to you. Just make a, shoot me a message, and I can send it to you. If you want to send a little something, a donation through the free will link, that's fine. Whatever amount, and then I'll shoot you the track. I'll shoot you. Actually, you'll get free will track, and then I'll send you the sheet music to Island Dance. Yeah, but info at Quamon Fowler, or you can go to that link that's in the description of the YouTube video. All right. All right, that's it for this stream, y'all. Blessings to everybody, and we'll see you again later. Okay, sounds real good. Okay.